Please rise for the flag salute. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please remain standing for a moment of silence for the men and women of our armed services and those we lost due to COVID-19. Thank you. I'll ask the board members to make sure, particularly more so tonight, that we speak directly into the microphones to be heard by everyone in attendance. In compliance with the Open Public Meeting Act of the State of New Jersey, adequate notice of this special meeting was provided in the following manner. On September 23rd, 2020, advance written notice of this meeting was submitted to the Daily Record for publication on September 25th, 2020, and was posted to the school district website and to the board docs. On September 24th, 2020, advance written notice of this meeting was sent to the 6 schools, the Board of Education office, and the municipal building. I direct this announcement to be entered in the minutes of this meeting. Roll call in.
Dr. Gales?
Here.
Mr. Kemna?
Here.
Mrs. Ouimet? Here. Mr. Petrie? Mr. Robinson?
Here.
Mr. Stevens?
Here.
Mr. Strelacci?
Here.
Dr. Giordano?
Here. Make a motion. Can someone make a motion to go into executive session?
For matters of attorney-client.
For matters of attorney-client privilege. Thank you, Mr. Zimmer. No action will be taken.
So moved.
All those in favor? Aye. Aye. We're in closed session. We should be no longer than 5-10 minutes, folks. We'll head into the back, guys.
ShopRite myself. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Motion, do I make a motion? Mark, I make a motion to come back in closed session?
Motion.
So, did someone, motion to come back into closed session?
Make that motion.
Thank you. We're back from closed session. I'm going to ask the Board of Ed members, much like myself, because I'm a very fast talker, to ask that we speak very slowly for Ms. O'Neill, and speak into the mics so she can hear everything we are saying. So what we're going to ask the candidates to do, we sat in the back out of a randomly picked the candidates' names out of a hat, if you will, and an order of questions we're going to ask. We're going to ask the other two candidates, as we interview each candidate individually, ask the other two candidates to wait outside, right out here as we interview the candidates. And the order of which we're going to proceed in is Mr. Schachter first, followed by Ms. Aquino, and I apologize if I mispronounce your name, and then Ms. O'Neill. So if Ms. Aquino and Ms. O'Neill can just wait outside, Mr. Creefy will have you wait outside, and we'll ask each individual board member their questions for the interview process.
Do you want to explain the process, Anthony, as to how
Yes.
we're going to? Okay.
Should we grab it before they leave?
We'll have him do, at this point, we're going to have Mr. Zimmer explain it to each board member. Each candidate. Yeah, Mr. Zimmer, if you want to explain it to each candidate.
So what we're going to do this evening is every board member is going to ask the candidates a question. Each candidate will get the exact same questions. We'll give you an opportunity to respond. Once we've interviewed all the candidates, the law permits us to go back into closed session to discuss the qualifications of every candidate. We will discuss the qualifications. I understand, Mr. Giordano, when we come out, we will open it up to public participation before the board votes. The board will nominate candidates, one or more candidates. The policy says that we vote on the candidates in the order in which they are nominated. That's going to be something we're going to discuss a little bit later on in the meeting. And the candidate who receives 5 votes will be the successful candidate, and that person will serve until the organization meeting in January of 2021.
Super, thank you. And also to note, I know on the agenda it says, after the interviews, it says number 3, confidential session. What we're going to do first is, as Mr. Zittimer said, number 4, public comments first before the board goes into confidential session. So that's what we spoke about. We're going to move number 4 to number 3, open it up to the public after we interview the candidates. Then the board will go into confidential session. Then we will come out and move the appointment like Mr. Zittimer said. Okay? So Mr. Schachter is the first up, and I'm going to go first and turn it over to Mr. Robinson for his the first opening round question.
Ready?
Yep, whenever you're ready, Mr. Robinson.
Brian, what kind of commitment in time and energy do you think a board member needs to devote to be an effective Board of Education member?
Well, it's easy for me to answer that one because I was a board member for 6 years. So the commitment is great. This is not a 1 hour a week job. It's almost full time. When things come up and issues come up, you have to be able to understand them, talk to the right people, and then chime in on them. There's committee work, there's the regular board meetings, so it is quite extensive. This is not an easy job at all.
Ms. Weimat?
How would you handle a concern or complaint about the district that was brought to your attention by a parent, community member, teacher, administrator, or other special interest group?
I would talk to the board president and the superintendent of schools to handle that.
So you would just go to them and bring it to, what exactly would you mean by I would talk to them?
Well, you'd bring the issue to the superintendent or to the board principal, and you elevate it. And if it's an administrative item, it would stay with the superintendent to deal with the way that they feel fit to deal with.
And you would be satisfied with whatever resolution that they came up with?
Whether I'm satisfied with the resolution or not satisfied with the resolution is the resolution. So, at the end of the day, we're just board members, or you're just a board member. You're one of 9 votes. So, Dr. Zawicki handles and administers the the school district the way that he sees fit.
Thank you.
Dr. Gales.
Thank you. Mr. Schechter, what kind of relationship should a Board of Education have with its community, with its parents and families?
The board members should have an integral part of that. They are voted on by the taxpayers of Mount Olive, by the people of Mount Olive. You have to understand, sorry, the mask is getting away. You have to understand where people are coming from. So there should be a good relationship with the students. You should be able to be approachable by just about anyone. And again, listen to them and see where the problems are, see where the solutions need to be, and then make suggestions, and then ultimately that goes to the superintendent and the rest of the board to vote on.
Thank you.
Mr. Strachey.
Yes. Mr. Schechter, I'd like to ask you a question that I've asked many, many times of a lot of candidates. What do you feel are the three most important responsibilities of a board member?
You need to be a good listener to the public. You need to be fair and a good setter of policy, and you need to have a level head. Those are all three really good qualities of a board member. And at the end of the day, if you don't agree with the other board members, you still have to leave and move on with the rest of your day, the rest of your week, and get back into the room with the same 8 other people to move the school district forward.
Thank you.
Mr. Kemna.
Mr. Schechter, if you could change one thing in our district, what would it be and why?
You know, with Dr. Zawicki, the communication to the public has been 100% better than what we had before. I think that communication is great. People want to know when things happen. We live in a time where everybody's tied to their phones, and they want to be in the know. The thing that I would change is more of an understanding with the public as to exactly how their tax dollars get spent and exactly what needs to get done to run a district. You have a lot of employees, you have a lot of students that you're responsible for, and you need to be able to move the bar forward every single day. You're preparing students for careers that haven't even been invented yet. So you have to have a foresight to that. So you never should take your eye off the ball that way.
Thank you.
You good? Mr. Schechter, and this is kind of a moot point, knowing your background, but what involvement have you had with the BoE and or the district?
Well, I served as a board member for 6 years. Even when I was not elected last November, I still continued to stay on as an advisor to the special ed parent group, and have been very involved in that group. Gone to all their meetings. Me and Dr. Giordano have sat shoulder to shoulder in many of those meetings, and getting a group like that to get everybody aligned has been quite a task. You have 600 students that are either IEP or special needs in this district, and that's a big group. And for the first several years that I was involved in the special ed parent group, you'd have the same 9 people that would show up to the meetings, 9 out of 600 families. And now to see, I think the last meeting we had was sometime around March, and then it went virtual. You have 40 or 50 people that showed up. So the group is growing nicely, and people are getting more involved. So that has been my involvement in the town. Do you want just the board ed involvement? You want my town involvement too?
Whatever involvement you've had.
I've also sit on the planning board, and have been an active member on the planning board for multiple years. With the new developments that are planned, it's always been given the good insight to the Board of Ed, and have used that when sitting and looking at plans for future developments in town to see what the demands are on the school district versus what a developer is telling us. And that's about my involvement in the town.
Super. Thank you. Mr. Stevens?
Please describe your volunteer activities, current and past.
Well, as I said, I've volunteered to be on the Board of Ed. That was an elected position. I also have been in the planning board. I've been on the library board in town. I've been on the economic development boards in town. So I've given a lot back to the community. My wife and I believe in that. I stay on as an advisor to CPAG, which is also a volunteer position. I'm involved in the alumni associations at the University of Maryland. God, there's so many groups, as well as our religious organizations that I belong to.
Super. Does any other board member have any other questions as a follow-up to Mr. Schachter? Seeing none, thank you, Mr. Schachter. Appreciate it. Mr. Creepy, can you escort Mr. Schachter out and ask Ms. Aquino to come in? Dying in these masks. Dying in these masks. I hate it. Hi, Ms. Aquino.
Hello.
How are you today?
Wonderful, thank you.
Good. I'm going to ask Mr. Zittimer to explain the same thing he explained to Mr. Schachter about the process here.
Hi, good evening.
Good evening.
So the board, as you know, is going to interview each candidate separately. Each candidate, however, is going to get the exact same questions. After each candidate has been interviewed, the board will go back into closed session to discuss the qualifications. We're not going to come to a decision, but the law does allow us to go into executive session to discuss the qualifications of each of the candidates. We will then come back out into public. We will open it up to public participation. We will then nominate a candidate and vote, and our policy requires that the successful candidate get 5 votes, which is the remaining number of members of the board members. Any questions about that?
No,
Okay, thank you.
Super. And what we'll just do, we're just going to go around. Each board member is going to ask you a question, Ms. Aquino. Just, and we're going to start
Can you
with.
hear me, or should I move this forward?
If you could speak a little bit closer into, yeah, move that a little bit closer to you. That'd be fantastic. And I'm the same way. I tend to think everyone can hear me, and I realize I can't. I'm going to start with Mr. Robinson.
What kind of commitment in time and energy do you think a board member needs to devote to be an effective Board of Education member?
Well, I think that's a great question, because I don't think that there is a timeline. I think it's all the time, because you're going to be getting, I would assume, phone calls or emails or people reaching out to you when you're not in a meeting. So I would imagine it would be quite a bit of time that you would need to give to a school board. And I'm prepared to do that.
Are you good, sir? Okay. Ms. Wiemat?
How would you handle a concern or complaint about the district that was brought to your attention by a parent, community member, teacher, administrator, or other special interest group?
I'd probably give it to the president of the board to take care of, but I'm just kidding. I don't really know what the protocol is, so I couldn't answer that, but I would have to be schooled and read what the rules are and what I would have to do when someone does complain, which I'm sure will happen. I want them to know that it's a valid request, and I will take their issue or complaint or question to wherever it would be once I learn who gets that complaint.
Thank you. That was a very good guess, and your guess was correct, along with the superintendent, so you were right on point with that.
Okay, thank you.
You good, Ms. Wiemat? Dr. Gales?
Hi, Ms. Aquino.
Hi.
What kind of relationship should a Board of Education have with its community, with its parents and families?
I think that a Board of Education member's face should be out there. I think they should know and see you, know who you are, know that you are a caring individual, and that you are community-based, that you are, out there and maybe at, the food store, at games, at school events. So I think it should be an active person in the community, so that you're out and about and people can see you and that they have access to you if they should need it.
Thank you.
Mr. Strelacci.
Welcome, Ms. Aquino.
Thank you.
I've asked this question of every candidate I've ever interviewed. What do you think are the three most important responsibilities of a board member?
Oh, that's good. 3 most important. I think you need to take your job seriously. I think you need to be a team player, and I think you need to be responsible for the district because it sits on your shoulders with the other team members around the room with you. So it's a serious job. I think you need to take it as a serious job, and responsibility. Did I answer that?
Yes, thank you.
Okay.
Mr. Kemna.
Yes. If you could change one thing in our district, what would it be and why?
Let me just preface my answer by saying that I have a daughter who's a 4th grader, and it's in Sand Shore. And one of the reasons, and I hope I'm not jumping ahead if somebody has this question for me, one of the reasons why I felt it was time for me to step up and maybe fill this role and give back to my community is because I've had nothing short of a spectacular experience at Sand Shore. Her teachers, administrators, staff have all been fantastic. So that is a difficult question for me because I have to be honest with you, I've had nothing but wonderful experiences for the entire time we've been here. If I could change one thing, well, I'm just so glad 4th and 5th grade is back at school right now. I can't even think straight because today was her first day back since March. What would I change about the district? Me personally, I can't think of anything that I would change. I'm so thrilled with this district, which is why I've decided to show interest in this role. There really is nothing is coming to me at the moment. We honestly have had her teachers, I can't say enough about how spectacular they are. So there really isn't, communication skills are fantastic. There really is nothing I can think of at the moment. I'm sure if I were to sit in your seats, I would hear a lot of what makes people unhappy. But as for me personally, I really can't think of something.
Okay, thank you.
Super. That was a great answer. And mine and Mr. Stevens' questions kind of overlap, but what involvement have you had with the BoE and the district?
I am an SHSP member.
Okay.
I am not class mom material, but I do help out when they need it and have gone on field trips. And I have had very, very little BoE experience as far as sitting in front of you, other than I came to 1 or 2 meetings, and I don't even remember how long ago. I'm thinking, what, my daughter's 9. I'm going to say 5, 6 years ago when it was, for me, I'm sure for you guys 100 times, but for me, it was the first time we were serious about full-day kindergarten. So I came to hear, that was with Dr. Reynolds. So I came to hear where the voting was and what the issues were, so that's the only time I've been here.
Thank you. Mr. Stevens.
Like Mr. Giordano stated, our questions do overlap a little bit, but please describe your volunteer activities current and past.
Oh, my volunteer activities. I am currently a session member at the First Presbyterian Church in Hackettstown. So a session member is very similar to what you all are doing right now. We are responsible for running the church, and like we also have like a board secretary, and we make the financial decisions and the business decisions for the church. There are 9 of us, and I sit on what's called session. So that is my volunteer. I volunteer with my daughter's cheerleading when they need a helper there. What else do I currently volunteer doing? That's all I can think of at the moment.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Does any other board member have a follow-up question for Ms. Aquino? And I apologize if I'm mispronouncing
No,
your last name.
Aquino is it, yes.
Seeing none, thank you for your time.
Oh, thank
Mr. Creefy, I'm sorry, did you want to say something?
No, I was saying thank you.
Oh,
Do you want us to come back in after everyone has been?
yes, that's what we'll do,
Okay.
Mr. Creefy. I'm going to have Mr.
Okay.
Creefy escort you out and ask for Ms. O'Neill to be brought in, Mr.
You got it.
Creefy.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much. It's okay, take your time, Ms. O'Neill.
Sorry.
It's okay. And please, if any board member, if you can't hear a question or understand the question, or if we're talking too fast, I tend to talk super fast. For me, I'm talking slow, and this may be too fast, I'm not sure. Please just let us know, and we'll re-ask the question, okay? So I'm going to ask Mr. Zittimer to let you know the procedure that he let every other candidate know.
Good evening.
Hi.
Hi. So as you know, we're going to ask each candidate the same questions. We're then going to go back into executive session to discuss the qualifications of each candidate. We're then going to come back into public, open it up to the public to participate and ask any questions that they might have, not of the candidates, but of the board. And then the board is going to proceed to nominate a candidate or more than one candidate and vote. Our policy says that the successful candidate must receive the remaining votes of the board, which in this case is 5. So whichever candidate gets 5 votes would be the successful candidate. Okay?
Okay. I'm going to start off with Mr. Robinson is going to ask the first question.
What kind of commitment in time and energy do you think a board member needs to devote to be an effective Board of Education member?
I would think it's a pretty big commitment, maybe.
Do you want me to repeat it?
she move the microphone closer?
Yeah.
Mr. Creefy, can you move the microphone closer for Ms. O'Neill?
Can you bring the microphone closer? Thank you.
Thank you.
Do you want me to repeat the question?
No.
Okay.
I heard it. I hear myself very loud when they do this, so I tend to talk softer, I'm sorry. I would think it's a pretty time-consuming commitment. I know it's the 2 meetings a week, but I would think, 2 meetings a month, but I would think that it's at least a couple hours a week commitment, probably more than a couple hours.
You good, Mr. Robinson?
Yes.
Ms. Weimat?
That's me. How would you handle a concern or complaint about the district that was brought to your attention by a parent, community member, teacher, administrator, or other special interest group?
I would definitely go to Dr. Zwicky or Dr. Giordano, or the whole board if it was appropriate, but probably Dr. Zwicky. He's usually great with any kind of issue that I bring to him.
Thank you, you're right on point.
Thank you, Ms. Weimat. Dr. Gales?
Thank you. Hi, Ms. O'Neill. What kind of relationship should a Board of Education have with its community, with its parents and families?
I would think that they should have an open relationship, definitely be in touch with other families at other schools. And, well, I have young children still in the school district, so, to be able to be out in the community and talk to other people, to hear what they have to say.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Gales. Mr. Strelacci?
Ms. O'Neill, what do you think are the 3 most important responsibilities of a board member?
most responsibilities? I would say deciding what the most immediate concerns of the district are, communicating with the families and the parents and communicating with the staff. Make sure everybody's needs are being met.
Thank you.
Mr. Kemna.
Yes. If you could change one thing in our district, what would it be and why?
More deaf accessibility.
More what?
Deaf accessibility. Because it's things like Parent University, anything that comes live streamed, it's not captioned, so for someone who's deaf like me, I have to wait to watch with another person to translate it for me, but that's just a personal thing.
Thank you.
Ms. O'Neill, what involvement have you had with the BoE and/or the district?
So I have 6 children, and I have had 1 or more children in the school district since 1999. I have been on PTA, well, the different schools, Sand Shore is different, but I've been on Flanders PTA. I was there for about 10 years, volunteering. Probably the biggest thing I've done is I am a member of CPEG, which is the Special Parents Education Advisory Group, and right now I am the president of that. I volunteer for whatever I can, but I do have a heart for special education and helping my best there.
Okay. Thank you. Mr. Stevens.
Please describe your volunteer activities, current and past.
My activities?
Here's the word volunteer.
Volunteer activities, current and past.
Oh, so I've been on multiple committees for PTA and probably hundreds by now. I was a member of the Strategic Planning Board on the Social Emotional Learning Committee. I am currently on the Equity Task Force. I don't know what committee yet. And I am a member and the president at the moment of CPEG, the Special Parents Advisory Group.
What task force were we on? I missed that.
The Equity Task Force?
Oh, the equity.
Board members have any other questions or follow-ups? Ms. Wiemat.
I just want to say thank you for bringing that to our attention about the closed caption. I also work for a school, and I know we do a lot of Zoom meetings or WebEx meetings, and I know the one thing that our accessibility department has done is put closed caption on everything. So you're not alone. There are so many people, also some people, like some of our students who don't come out and tell us that they do need that. But even having the closed caption helps even with learning disabilities and having that closed caption on there. So thank you for bringing that to our attention.
You're welcome. Yes, my son is autistic, my 8-year-old, and so a lot of times he cannot tell me, but I don't know either. Like for virtual learning, whatever they're saying over the computer, I have no idea, and he can't tell me, so we're kind of like sometimes helpless together, but we do balance it out.
Thank you.
Mr. Zimmer, you want to say something prior?
No.
Okay, we're good. Any other questions from board members? So at this point, thank you, Ms. O'Neill. I'd like to bring the other candidates back in, and we'll open up to the public. Anyone sitting in the audience would like to say anything about the candidates to the board before the board adjourns into private session?
Or anything for that matter.
Or anything for that matter, for sure. Anything that's going on in the district for that matter. Because we only have one action item, is that's to appoint a board member, so. Mr. Creepy, can you ask the other candidates to come in?
So Anthony, the resolution is exec session for matters of individual privacy.
You want me to bug you for a while?
That's the subject matter. Did you get that?
Individual privacy. I'd like to thank all the candidates for coming in. At this point, we will turn it over to the public. If anyone in the public would like to stand up, state their name and address for the record, and ask anything either about the candidates or make a statement about, to the board, and or anything that's going on in the district at this time. Seeing none, closing public comment. Lynn, I make a motion that the board recess into executive session to discuss candidates' qualification. Resolved that the board meet in confidential session for the purpose of discussing candidates' qualifications and individual privacy. Be it further resolved that the matters discussed in confidential session be disclosed to the public. When the reason for confidentiality no longer exists, action will be taken.
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Kemna. All in favor? Aye. We're in closed session. We'll be there as long as we debate, everyone. So, and then we'll come back out. So, board members, head back. I just have to. Motion to come back in from closed session?
Second.
We are back from closed session. I am now opening up for nominations for candidates for the vacant seat by Dr. Sandy Beardsley.
I'd like to make a motion to nominate Ms. Jennifer Aquino.
Thank you, Dr. Gills. Any other nominations?
I'd like to nominate Mr. Schechter.
Then we will start with the first
No,
nomination.
No, just ask if there's any other
Oh, I'm
nominations.
sorry. Thank you, Dr. Zimmer. Is there any other nominations?
Dr. Giordano, somebody should
Seeing
make
none,
a
closing
motion,
nominations.
to close the nominations.
Motion to close nominations?
So moved.
Thank you.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any
Thank you.
opposed?
Thank you. Thank you for Robert's rules there, Dr. Zimmer.
problem.
I'm sorry?
Can you comment quickly on the voting again?
Yeah, so just to refresh everybody's memory, Mr. Giordano, may I explain the process one more time per Ms. Jones? Just to explain how it works now is we
Can you
have two...
slow down, Dr. Zimmer, so Ms. O'Neill
Yes,
can not?
thank you. Apologize. So just to reiterate the process, two candidates have been nominated. The board will vote on the candidates in the order in which they were nominated. So Ms. Aquino will be voted on first. That's what our policy requires. Should Ms. Aquino get 5 votes, then we're done and we don't actually go on to Mr. Schechter. If you do not get 5 votes, then we would vote on Mr. Schechter. If Mr. Schechter gets 5 votes, then he would be the successful candidate. If neither candidate gets 5 votes, we could nominate an additional candidate, try again, and so on and so forth until we are successful at arriving at a new candidate. Does anybody have any questions?
Any questions from board members? Thank you, Mr. Zimmer. Roll call, Lynn?
Okay, this is for the nomination of Mrs. Aquino.
Yes.
Dr. Gales?
Yes.
Mr. Kemna?
Yes.
And the board members, just to refresh your memory, are free to discuss why they're supporting a particular candidate or for the deliberations purposes.
Mrs. Ouimet?
Yes, considering all the qualifications of every candidate.
Mr. Robinson?
Yes.
Mr. Stevens?
Yes.
Mr. Strelacci?
No.
And Dr. Giordano?
You want to get Dr. Gales in there? Did you get Dr. G?
Yes, he
Oh,
was the
did you?
first.
Oh, you were the first one? Okay. Yes.
Congratulations, Mrs. Aquino.
Thank you very much.
I'd like to thank all the candidates for coming out. It was not an easy decision. You were all supremely qualified, and I'd like to thank everyone for their time and putting themselves out there. It's not easy to come in front of the board and to sit there and have questions asked at you. You can ask Mr. Kemna and Dr. Gales that, as that's how they first got on the board. So I know Mr. Schachter's running for the Board of Ed. Ms. O'Neill, I would recommend you stay involved and even maybe throw your hat into the ring for next year or the next couple cycles. And I'm sure any board member would be more than happy to help you in doing that and putting your name out there and getting yourself out there even more than what you already do.
Thank you very much.
Mr. Kemna, Administrative Action Item 5.1, would you please move?
I make a motion to adjourn the meeting.
No, I'm sorry.
5.1.
I'm right on the 7. I'm gonna be so excited.
The action item was for we really just took the vote for the action item.
Oh, we did? Did we do
Yeah.
that?
We have
Yeah,
to
it's-
swear in Mrs. Aquino.
Oh, you're going to swear Ms. Quine, so we're good to go. We don't have to move that. We don't have to do the whole, it says, where's the Mount Isle Board of Education recommended action? We don't have to do all that?
No, we took care of that by the
Okay,
nomination process that we just had.
I'm just trying to
Yep.
follow the agenda in front of me.
Yep,
It's like
understood.
the teleprompter for Ron Jeremy.
That was just more of
follow the
a marker than anything else. Do you want us to vote on the resolution as well, Ms. Jones, or I think we satisfied the policy requirement by the nomination and the
Yes,
the
that's
vote.
fine. That's
Yeah.
fine.
We're good. The
Good.
only thing we
Thank
need
you.
to do
Okay.
now,
I'm
Dr.
sorry, would you
Giordano
like to
is...
swear in Ms. Queen? Ms. Queen, could you stand up with Mr. Zimmerman? He'll swear you in.
Yes. Where would you like us to stand? Anywhere particular? In the middle there.
You do it the flag as a backdrop?
You could probably take it out of its stand, Mr. Zimmerman.
Thank you. If you would raise your right hand and repeat after me. I state your name.
I, Jennifer Aquino,
Do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of New Jersey,
and the Constitution of the State of New Jersey,
and I will bear true faith and allegiance
and I will bear true faith and allegiance
to the same
to the same
and to the government established in the United States
and to the government established in the United States
and this state
and the state
under the authority of the people,
under the authority of the people,
so help me God.
so help me God.
Okay. I state your name.
I, Jennifer Aquino,
Do solemnly swear that I possess
do solemnly swear that I possess
the qualifications prescribed by law
the qualifications prescribed by law
for the office of member of a Board of Education,
for the office of the Board of Education,
and that I am not disqualified as a voter
and I am not disqualified as a voter
pursuant to
pursuant to
RS
RS
19:4-1,
19:4-1,
and that I am not disqualified due to
and I am not disqualified due to
the conviction of a crime
the conviction of a crime
or offense listed in
or offense listed in
NJS
NJS
18A
18A
12-1,
12-1,
and that I will faithfully,
and that I will faithfully,
impartially, and justly
impartially, and justly
perform all the duties of that office
perform all the duties of that office
according to the best of my ability,
according to the best of my ability.
so help me God.
So help me God.
Congratulations.
Mr. Zimmer, Dr. Z, should we have Ms. Aquino sit at the desk, or are we comfortable with her sitting there right now? We don't have her come to the desk.
The only item of business left is to adjourn at this
Right,
point, so
okay.
I don't think that's-
All right, super. Motion to adjourn meeting? Second. All those in favor? Aye. Thank you, everyone. We are adjourned.